wasn't until, if I remember right, this was all part, when the BLM come out with their travel thing, this was all part of an open area up until 90, no not 98,
2008.
2008.
Yeah.
And then in 2008 they decided that it wasn't open anymore. And they had closed this in 2007.
September of 2007.
Yeah, so when the trail stuff was done by the gentleman that fixed the trail down there to make it safer.
Ken and Dustin.
I mean, it was an open area, open to any kind of use or trail or maintenance or whatever.
Yeah, on the closure sign itself, it says it identifies the closure area and says the rest of this area, including Recapture Canyon, is still open area according to the 1991 Resource Management Plan, the RMP. And so you're right. In 2008, BLM made a big change. It sounds like a small change in words, but instead of being open unless designated closed, it changed from closed unless designated open. It's kind of like, instead of innocent till proven guilty, you're now guilty till proven innocent, and you can't go anywhere that's not designated. Well, that just opened up the whole scene for BLM to just arbitrarily now close road after road after road and say, well, it wasn't on your travel plan. Well, it didn't need to be on the travel plan because we weren't playing by those rules.
Mm-hmm.
And that's certainly with Recapture. And the other thing on Recapture from a county standpoint, we got caught between three things: that 1991 RMP, the 2008 RMP, and our right-of-way application, which was in response to the closure. So I guess really four things if you include the closure. So we didn't have this, we weren't fighting the fight on this as an RS-2477. Everybody knew the canyon was open and you had free access to go down it, and that was perfectly fine. And then when they closed it in 2007, we put the right-of-way application to say, well, let's get it reopened. We'll cooperate with the BLM if that's what it takes. And then in 2008, where they changed the RMP, now the county, now they're saying, well, you should have been under an RS-2477. Well, those were all in response to the 2008 RMP. And so we're going to have to go back and amend and put it on as an RS-2477. And we've seen there that the federal judges are reluctant to acquiesce and give anything RS-2477 statute.
On the closure, my understanding, when that happened, they said it was going to be closed for 6 months and that they were going to release. I know with me, I turned in a request, Freedom of Information request, asking for information on what sites had been damaged, that kind of stuff. Because when we had the meeting in Blanding, we talked to the archaeologist. I'm trying to think of her name, that worked for the BLM at that time. No, I can't off the top of my head. Anyway, and they said that they would release that information, let the public know, what was going on in that. So we waited, it was about 6 months, didn't hear anything. So I turned in my request, and they said that it was an ongoing investigation. They couldn't release that information. And so we never did. We were never able to get it. And so the 6-month period that they said it'd be open, it wasn't. And then it went on again, and there was another time frame saying, hey, we should have it by here.
Shelley Smith.
And she was the
regional
director for down here in Monticello.
Well, Lance Porter is now.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So she was over the Moab region, which includes the Monticello field office.
Right. And when she got promoted or left to another position, my understanding, and I believe I was in the meeting, when she talked about how everything was done, there was just one more thing to do, and the trail was going to be opened, or something like that. Is that right?
We heard that so many times from Tom Heinlein, who was the field manager. The one that sticks out to me, because I got involved in this when I first put my hat in to run for commissioner, so it was about March of 2010 when I started going to the meetings, and probably around the first part of 2011, Tom said we would do a programmatic agreement that would be done in short order. Well, it took about 6 months, seemed to delay. Finally, we met to go over the programmatic agreement. All of the parties had seen the draft copy and had input. And we get to the meeting, and he said, oh, sorry if that's a misunderstanding. This is a draft programmatic agreement. The other one's going to take another 6 months. Well, a year and a half later, we finally get a programmatic agreement at the end of 2013, which we signed off on. And yeah, in the meantime, we have all these assurances, and that's just...
And yet it's still closed.
Yeah, and that's...
There hasn't been any, I mean, they've done a lot of study, according to the theory, but there hasn't been any adjustments to the trail or anything that they were supposed to be doing. Or the county, I mean, the county's agreed to help.
County will do the realignments.
Volunteers have helped to bring in and help do that, right?
Up until this March 10th, we've said we've got 300 people. We'll leave our ATVs up top. We'll go down. We'll help to realign the trail. The other thing I said is, even if you'll just mark where the alignment's going, we'll call off the ride. We just want to see that there's actually some earnest intention to reroute this trail, and even that's been turned down. So
yeah.
it's just delay after delay, and they say justice delayed is justice denied, and that's at some point it becomes a taking, and you can't tie something up indefinitely and say, oh no, we're doing our job. That's a taking. Federal government's prohibited from doing that to people.
There's a lot of talk that this is just about opening up recapture, and that people, you see it on the blogs and different things, or on Facebook, people saying, well, I hope you all go to jail and all this kind of stuff, and they just think the people that are going to participate in this are just rebels out here just trying to stir up the government or whatever. What really is going on here?
Well, close which trails you want to close. If there's no protest on those closed trails, it's a pretty good indication that nobody's using them or interested. But when you get the level of backlash that you've gotten on recapture, that's a pretty good indication that this trail is being used, has been used, and it's important to people. So I'm not an ATV enthusiast. I'm trying to find one I can borrow for the ride on the 10th. But I'm a freedom enthusiast. I'm a liberty enthusiast. I believe that there's a due process of law that is required on these things, and BLM hasn't followed it. I was on the phone this morning with Juan Palma, the state director, and he said, we are not showing preference to any group in this. And I said, well, you should be showing preference to San Juan County, because we are the elected representatives of the county in which recapture lies. There's no recognition that those geographic and jurisdictional boundaries mean anything. And I'm not saying they mean everything. I'm not saying San Juan County has a right to do anything they want. But when it comes time to sit down and coordinate our efforts with the BLM, FLPMA requires them to do that. And I don't know if they haven't read it, if they just deny that, or what the situation is, but we sure don't get coordination.
Well, and having worked with the BLM in the past with a company I worked for doing permits and stuff, it seems like prior to about 2005 or so, you could go in and they did do what the mandate was, that they take into consideration the local people or the local environment a little more than the outside sources. I mean, they have to look at it all, but it seemed like the local interest had a little bit more weight. Now it seems like the local interest isn't even a factor. At least that's my perception of what's going on. I mean, it seems like now that if you got a lobbyist or something like that, or environmental group or whatever, you can come in and do and get done whatever you want. Sort of like, for an example, I mean, I understand you got a letter from the BLM just the other day, Monday, during the correlation meeting, telling you what their stance was going to be, and that if people participated, they would prosecute them or whatever.
Civil and criminal.
Yeah, and the letter itself was dated that date, May 28th, and on that same date, they delivered that to you, and they delivered it to an environmental magazine. Is that right? Or
Energy and Environment and Energy Publications. And it's interesting because the letter has a stamp on it, not a printed, but a stamp, so you can kind of look at the positioning of that and the character of that. And I guess you could have two that are stamped identically, but it gives you a little bit of an eerie feeling. So Lance Porter hands me this letter and says, makes a point of saying, Phil, I'm giving this letter. It's a letter from me to you and to nobody else. And he hands it to me, and I take it home, go to work the next morning, and have a reporter saying, I got a copy of the letter the BLM gave to you. And I said, well, I've hardly finished reading it myself. How did you get a copy? He said, my source asked me not to reveal that. And I said, well, I guess we're done talking then.
Sort of shows you what the environment is we're working in. I mean, when they deliver one to the commissioner in that same time, they're delivering it to all the opposition, or at least one.
Yeah, you'd like to think that maybe some of these paranoid ideas are just paranoia, but there's so many things that pop up that validate that, no, you really are being set up here. And that's what that letter felt like to me. So I did speak to the reporter a little bit, and he put his article out on Greenwire. But you can go on his, to his article, and you can click, and you can pull up that letter, and it's got that stamp in the exact same spot, in the exact same posture, and it makes me think, why tell somebody, I'm giving this to you, and to nobody else, if you've already sent that off to the other person? Just say, and for your information, this is a public record. I know it's public record. Anyone can get it. That's not the issue.
Right.
It's like, well, just say, here's a letter, and I've sent it on to the people up, up the chain, and that's I said to the reporter. I said, so this was leaked, and he said, yeah, this was leaked.
Yeah. So that just makes you wonder what the playing field is, or.
Yeah. Was it leaked? Was it leaked to anybody that's friendly to the cause, or is it only leaked to those who are unfriendly to the cause? Because I mean, Greenwire is not friendly to local jurisdiction and access and all those things in this situation. I'm not saying that they're a bad publication, but they're not friendly to the local interests in these things. So then you have to conclude that the BLM is not friendly to these if they've got the letter the same time that I do.
To let the viewers know, there will be a copy of this letter as well posted below this on the post. So,
and my response.
And his response.
I hope.
Yeah, it will be.